Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are tackling something that's honestly a fascinating but super complex reality of our modern, borderless world. How to actually, legally, transfer your tax residency as a remote worker. If you've ever daydreamed about working from a sunny beach in Spain or a cafe in Greece, you really need to understand the hidden mechanics of global tax law first. So grab your notebook, because we're going to make this complex legal journey incredibly clear and actionable for you.
Okay, let's dive into this by busting the biggest myth on the internet right now. You've probably seen it online, right? Can you just pack your laptop, jump on a plane, and start working from a new country without telling anyone? The short answer? No way, absolutely not. While the internet has completely shattered the physical boundaries of work, the geographical anchors of tax law are literally as strict as they have ever been. Moving locations without careful planning generates some serious legal friction, both for you and for your employer.
To really grasp why, I want you to think of tax residency like a giant electrical socket. You can't just shove your tax residency into a backpack and go. You must formally and legally unplug from your home country's legal socket before you even think about plugging into another country's system. If you try to stay plugged into both, or if you just forget to unplug from the first one, you risk a massive short circuit. And in the financial world, that short circuit is called double taxation.
So here's our flight plan for today. We're going to walk through this chronological relocation journey, starting with the remote work tax trap, then exiting your home country, protecting your employer, resolving dual tax residency, leveraging those new inbound regimes, and finally securing your tax certificate.
Starting right off with Sections 1 and 2, the remote work tax trap and exiting your home country.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real issue. Your journey actually begins with the massive friction of departure. People always think arriving in a new place is the hard part, but actually, failing to legally unplug from your home country is exactly what traps you in those dual taxation nightmares. Take the UK's statutory residence test flowchart, for example. It isn't just about how many days you spend in the country. It's a highly complex web that blends day counts with your family ties, your accommodation, and your work history to essentially trap departing workers. Like, if you recently left but kept a home available in the UK or still have family there, you could get dragged right back into the UK tax net even if you spend less than a couple of months there. You absolutely have to sever those ties.
And look, if you're leaving a high-tax jurisdiction, you've got to brace yourself for the harsh financial reality of departure taxes. In Canada, leaving triggers a deemed disposition. Basically, the day you leave, Canada treats you as if you sold every single worldwide asset you own, private shares, investment funds, the whole shebang, at fair market value. And you are taxed on those unrealized capital gains instantly. Over in Germany, if you hold at least 1% of corporate shares, you face a severe exit tax known as the Wegzugssteuer. Plus, Germany demands strict administrative steps, a mandatory address deregistration or abmelding within 2 weeks, and a formal exit from the church tax system. If you skip these hoops, you stay plugged in, and the tax bills just keep coming.
Moving right along to Section 3, protecting your employer.
So, you've carefully unplugged from your home country. Awesome. But while you're in motion, you actually pose a massive hidden danger to your employer. To protect them, I need you to anchor your attention on this number, 50%. Under the updated 2025 OECD framework, this is the temporal safe harbor rule. Generally speaking, working from a remote location in a host country for less than 50% of your total working time in any rolling 12-month period usually avoids creating a corporate permanent establishment, or PE. Meaning, your employer won't suddenly owe corporate taxes in the country you're visiting, as long as you stay under this threshold.
Let's put this into perspective with two specific OECD examples. Notice the personal nomad. They're working from a host country 30% of the time purely for personal lifestyle reasons, with zero local client interaction. The outcome? No PE. The employer is completely safe. But contrast that with the territorial manager. They are there 80% of the time actively managing local clients and advancing local business. Because they cross that 50% threshold and have a commercial reason for being there, a permanent establishment is triggered. Suddenly, the employer is on the hook for foreign corporate taxes. It's a real game changer.
Which brings us to Section 4, resolving dual tax residency.
All right, what happens if, despite your absolute best efforts, you accidentally trigger tax residency in your old country and your new country at the exact same time? Well, you have to rely on bilateral double taxation agreements to break the tie. The OECD uses a super strict sequential 4-step tiebreaker test. Step 1 looks at where you have a permanent home available. And note this practical detail from the 2017 updates: if you own a home but rent it out to a third party, it no longer counts as available to you because you've surrendered possession. If you have homes in both places, we move to Step 2, Center of Vital Interests. Basically, where's your active life, your family, your main bank accounts? If that's still a tie, Step 3 checks your habitual abode, measuring the frequency and duration of your stays over multiple years. Finally, Step 4 breaks the tie using your nationality. You must follow these steps in exact order to prove to the authorities which country actually gets to tax you.
Now for Section 5, Leveraging New Inbound Regimes.
Once you've safely unplugged and managed the corporate risks, we get to the fun part, plugging into a new socket in Southern Europe. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer value these countries are offering to attract you. Look at Spain's famous Beckham Law, paired with their digital nomad visa. You pay a flat 24% tax rate on worldwide employment income for up to 6 years, capped at 600,000 euros. Next, Italy's updated Impatriate regime gives a massive 50% exemption on your income for 5 years. It's important to note, Italy actually eliminated their older, even higher 70% and 90% rates, but 50% is still incredibly competitive. And then there's Greece, offering a 50% tax exemption for a full 7 years, with 0 income caps.
But of course, there's a catch. So the crucial point is this: these inbound regimes have strict, completely unforgiving administrative deadlines. Look at Spain's 6-month trap. You must file your application electronically within exactly 6 months of registering with Spanish Social Security. If you miss that window by literally 1 day, you are permanently excluded from the flat tax regime and fall right back into standard progressive taxation. You can't just show up and wing it. You must execute the paperwork flawlessly.
Finally, Section 6, Securing Your Tax Certificate.
Which brings us to the final, absolutely crucial step of our journey. You've left your home, protected your company, and signed up for a great tax rate. But your relocation isn't truly over until you complete this. A tax resident certificate is your primary legal defense. It's a physical document, usually valid for just 1 single year, issued by your new country's tax authority. It proves you are now firmly plugged into their socket. Without this piece of paper, you can't claim treaty benefits and you can't force your old country to drop their trailing tax audits. It is the absolute finish line of your compliance journey.
We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today, from exit taxes and corporate PE risks to exciting new European flat taxes and complex tiebreaker rules. So I'll leave you with this final thought to reflect on. You've packed your bags, you've got your visa, and you're enjoying the remote lifestyle, but have you actually, truly, legally unplugged? Ensure you evaluate your own setup, consult the official guidance, and secure that tax certificate. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.